Filipino mythology is rich and vast, full of both wondrous creatures and horrific monsters. Now, these monsters of folklore have origins that predate recorded history. Throughout the country and both big cities and small provincial towns, tales of beasts that terrify and terrorize would be shared to caution the reckless, the unwise, and the foolhardy, young and old alike. These creatures are often referred to under one name that captures them all: aswang. Now, one such monster is the Mandurgo, horrors that resemble vampires of European lore. Now, the Mandurgo appear as beautiful women. They infiltrate communities by marrying into them, using their familial life as a cover for their wicked appetites. At night, while the community sleeps, the Mandurgo makes its way to a chosen victim's home, scales the roof, and then sends a long, string like tongue through the roof's thatching. And this tongue snakes towards its victim, pierces the sleeper's skin, and drains it of its blood in this deadly feast. Now, the manananggal is another horror that also takes the form of a beautiful woman. Appearing like a normal woman during the day, when night falls, a manananggal sprouts devilish wings on its back. Its torso separates from its lower half, and its disembodied upper half flies off to feast on human flesh. They're said to favor the taste of pregnant women and the fetuses growing in their victims' wombs. Now, some travelers who trek through the Philippine jungles at night might hear the cry of an infant. And when they investigate, they find a helpless baby, seemingly abandoned in the woods. When the infant is picked up, however, it reveals its true nature as a chanak, growing sharp fangs and claws to tear the unwitting traveler apart and devour this poor soul's flesh. And in my family's home province of Batangas, it's believed that these monsters were once human babies who died before receiving a name. Now, these monsters are examples of horrors from traditional Filipino folklore. And in today's modern age, creatures like it are merely just subjects of tales told to spook people out. But there is a very popular supernatural story that comes from more contemporary times. In Quezon City, just northeast of the Philippine capital of Manila, there is a street called Balete Drive. And the street is named after the row of balete trees that used to line it, large, towering trees that were often believed to house spirits and other supernatural creatures. For decades, streetlights were never built there. And at night, Balete Drive was pitch black and foreboding. Stories dating back to the 1950s say that a teenage girl was once sexually assaulted and murdered by a taxi driver there one late, dark night. And that girl's specter still haunts Balete Drive, searching for the driver that ruined her life. Stories tell of a taxi driver who was driving down Balete Drive one night after ending his day of picking up fares. He was nervous, driving down the ominous, unlit street. His fingers were gripping the steering wheel tight when it appeared. Just off the side of the road stood a lone figure caught in the headlights, a woman dressed all in white, eerily watching his approach. Though the thought crossed his mind that he could be one more fare, that this woman could be one more fare to bring home before the end of his day, something in his chest told him not to stop. He avoided the white lady's gaze as he drove by, not even slowing a kilometer. And when he looked in his rearview mirror, the white lady had seemingly vanished from the road. He heaved a sigh of relief until he noticed that someone was sitting in his back seat, a pale, gaunt-faced woman dressed all in white. In panic, he shut his eyes and slammed on his brakes. When the squeal of his tires died down, all that could be heard in the silent night was his breath, heavy and terrified. He gathered up his nerves to open his eyes again. Looking back at the rearview mirror, the white lady was gone. His backseat was empty. He shakily drove away and never drove down Balete Drive again. And to this day, stories of the White Lady of Balete Drive are still told, sometimes in hushed tones, sometimes with uncomfortable laughs that dismiss the truth, but always with a seed of fear.